Algebra 1A students. Hopefully you have all watched the video from day one and completed your notes and completed the practice problems. Fortunately, I have yet to see any of those practice problems yet. So please get those done and take a picture and then email them to me, preferably before you start working on day two. Everything that we're about to do with this unit carries on from one day to the next. And if you're not practicing day one materials, day two is going to be a little bit more challenging, and then day three, etc. So please, please, please be doing those practice problems, watching the videos, taking the notes. So as we get ready for systems of linear equations today, and here's what we're going to be working on. First question is the ordered pair 4, -1 a solution to the system? So let's say in number one, I have these two lines graphed. We have x minus 4y equals 8, -3x plus 5y equals -3. And if I were to graph those, does the point 4, -1 meet at their intersection? The way we do this is by taking and putting in 4 for x and 1, -1 in for y. So the first thing I do is just label them x, y, just like we're used to. I take the first equation and I'm going to rewrite it right here. And then I'm going to rewrite the second equation over here. So if the point is truly a solution, what's going to happen is when I plug in 4 for x and -1 for y, it's going to make both of these true statements. So here we go. Again, we're going to plug in 4 for x minus 4, but instead of y, we're going to plug in -1, and we're going to see if that equals 8. If it does, we're on our way to this being a solution. So we have 4, and then -4 times -4 becomes a +4. Does that equal 8? Yeah, because 4 plus 4 is 8. So the solution so far is good because the point 4, -1 made this first equation true. Now we'll come over here. It has to work in both in order for it to work. So -3, instead of x, we plug in 4, plus 5, but instead of y, we're going to plug in -1, and we're going to see if that equals -3. If it does, then we truly have a solution here. -3 times 4 is -12. 5 times -1 is -5. You guys are probably already able to tell that absolutely not. -12 take away 5 puts us in the whole 17, and -17 does not equal -3. So since this one was okay over here on the left and it worked, this one did not work. So the answer is no. And it's no, you don't say no solution. You're just answering the question. Is it a solution of the system? And the answer is, of course, no. If you have any questions on that, feel free to email me or go back and rewind the video. If it would have worked in both of those, the answer would have been yes. On number 2, just to recap, going back to some percentages and pie charts here, a survey was taken to determine the favorite subjects of ninth graders. Well, we all know it's going to be math. I don't know why they took a survey. About what percent of the students chose math as their favorite subject, round to the nearest percent. Guys, there are no percentages over here. I'm also missing something really, really important. Can anybody tell me what it is? I'm sure you're all saying it to yourself right now. We don't know what the total is. So the first thing we need to do is probably figure out the total from the pie chart. So I want you, don't wait for me to do it. Pause the video and actually add all those up for me. So we have 30 plus 81 plus 64 plus 35 plus 11. And our grand total is 221. So we write our total there. And then if I'm just focusing on this math piece here, you have to take 35 out of 221. So 35 said math, I don't know why. Out of 221 total, we're going to divide those. And 35 divided by 221 is 0.158. I'm going to write down the first three numbers, 0.158, but it asked for a percent, and it told us to round to the nearest percent. So we move it over 2 spaces to the right, and it becomes 15.8. The nearest percent would be 16% because that 8 is 5 or more. So 16% would be our answer. Now we're going to take that and we're going to use it. Companies do this all the time. Based off of those results, let's make a prediction for the future. How many students would say that math is their favorite subject if there was 500 students? So we're going to take that 16%, that 0.16, and we're going to multiply it by the 500. Don't forget, you can't use it as a percent. So 16% equals 0.16. You move the decimal point 2 spaces back to the left. And so now we have 0.16 times 500. And your answer is 80. So the company could predict, or the survey could predict, that if there's 500 students, we would assume that 80 of them said math was their favorite. Number 3, here we go with graphs of linear systems here. Systems of equations is basically at least 2 different equations, and you can graph them, or we're about to do a whole bunch of different stuff with them this week. I want to know, how many solutions does it have? The solution to a system is where the 2 lines intersect. So on part A, hopefully you're all realizing those don't intersect. So how many solutions does that system have? And by the system, I mean these 2 graph lines. That creates a systems of equations. So how many solutions does that have? None. There are no solutions on that one because they do not intersect. On part B, they clearly intersect one point right there. This one has one solution, and that solution would be the point of intersection, which we're going to talk about today, and that is going to be 5, 0. That would be the solution to that system. All right, what we're going to do is just quickly review on number 4, since it's been a while since we talked about a couple of these things. If one number is represented by X and the other one is represented by Y, we need to write these mathematically. The sum of the 2 numbers is 14. Sum means to add. So go ahead right now, and how would I add X and Y together? On the second one, difference, if you remember correctly, means to subtract. So for part A, how would I show that those are added together? X plus Y, and it tells us the sum is 14, so equals 14. The second one is just subtract X minus Y, and they told us the difference. Hopefully you have your warm-up completed for now.